What's going on, all you beautiful people? This is Manufactured Opinion here, bringing you some more Dark Arisen gameplay for Dragon's Dogma. And today we have the final boss here, who fought me because it looked like he was on the toilet contemplating life. And I decided to bring my friends and interrupt him. I don't blame him. I'd be pretty angry too if a group of 4 really tough guys walked in on me while I was on the toilet. Unfortunately, I can't use magic to make them go away, but we can't have everything we want. But I really enjoyed this boss fight, especially the music. Some of the best boss fight music I've heard in a game, besides Dark Souls. The fight itself is pretty easy once you get the patterns down. I died a couple of times only because I made multiple mistakes, and you'll see a lot of those mistakes in this video. So learn from my mistakes and do not make them, and maybe you can beat this boss in a lot less frustrating manner. But essentially what you're going to want to do is, obviously your strategy is going to be different depending on what class you are. If you're a melee class, you're not going to want to stay at range. That's one of the mistakes I made with my Mystic Knight here. I tried to stay on the outskirts of the room and use Great Cannon so I could stay away from its hard-hitting melee attacks and dodge its magic attacks, but that wasn't working just because it can close the gap in between you and a ranged class, excuse me, so fast that it's up. There's there's a mistake. Note to self: if Giant Demon is on fire, make sure that you're not clinging to its back. Yeah, just make sure that you jump off of him when he does that. Make sure you do it early too, because even if you jump off of him, he still has there's still a range to it, so you can still get hit by it. You'll see that happen later on in the video. And actually, before I go any further, note this as well. I'm making a huge mistake here. I'm hitting it in the back, and I'm doing a good amount of damage, but you can actually climb up to its head and do even more damage. So make sure that if you're a melee class, to climb all the way up to its head and keep whacking it in the face as many times as you possibly can. So yeah, like I was saying, I was trying to stay on the outskirts of the room with my Mystic Knight using Great Cannon, and it just wasn't effective. It will be effective for the ranged classes, you know, like Ranger and Sorcerer and Magic Archer, only because you can do more damage from range. Great Cannon is a great skill to use, but it just takes too long to cast, so it wasn't working too well. But here's probably the biggest mistake I made when I first fought this boss. I jumped off of it when it curled into a ball like this, because I thought it was going to be some super crazy uber attack, but it's actually not a super crazy uber attack at all. It's actually when it's in its weakened state. So make sure that you hit it as many times as possible, because then it will kneel over and you'll be able to take off a good 3 or 4 bars of health, depending on what difficulty you're playing on. And then it will go into its crazy-ass berserk mode, where it's casting magic every 3 seconds, spamming the same attacks over and over and over again on itself, so it's almost impossible to climb it. So once you get to a certain point in the fight, he likes to start spamming his magic attacks over and over and over again, and I like to equate it to when the ogres go into berserk mode and they're all over the place, throwing their arms everywhere, flailing. They do massive amounts of damage and they're very hard to hit. If you're a melee build, this section of the fight will be very frustrating for you, and if you're not careful, you can actually be led into a chain where you're hit with multiple magic attacks, then he hits you with a melee attack, then he can pick you up and throw you on the ground, and hit you with some more magic attacks, and you'll actually see that happen to me coming up here a little bit later. Your pawns will definitely be taking the brunt of the damage at this point. Make sure that you revive them at all times, not because of the damage that they can do, which their AI is pretty awful in this boss fight. I don't know what it is. Make sure that you're commanding them to fight. Just hit up on the D-pad, whether it be PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360. Make sure that you're commanding them to fight at all times. I didn't do that in this fight. That's another mistake that I made. But you're going to want to keep them revived, just because he'll be focused on them most of the time unless you're doing extreme amounts of damage. This is what you want to happen. You want him aiming his magic attacks at them, because if you're a melee class, you're going to run in guerrilla warfare style, hit him a couple times, then run out. If you're a ranged class, just stay on the outskirts of the map, hit him with some of your more powerful attacks, and just make sure that you're avoiding the magic attacks. And like I said, just make sure that you're keeping your pawns revived, because they make great meat shields. That's what they're there for. They're there for stupid comments and great meat shields. Just another thing to keep in mind if you're a melee class. When I say he spams magic attacks, I mean it. If you try to climb on top of him, he'll literally cast the magic attack on himself. As you see right there, I get hit with his magic attack. He doesn't take any damage from it. And then I get hit with the lightning attack before I can get up. And then he's going to pick me up and squash me into the ground. So if you're a melee attack, a melee build, when I emphasize run in, hit him a couple of times, that's what I mean. It may take some time. And if you're a Mystic Knight, Great Cannon doesn't work that well because of the amount of time it takes to cast it, but what can I say? Eventually you'll whittle his health down and you'll be able to kill him. The most important part of this fight, in my opinion, is when he curls up into that ball, make sure that you are hitting him as much as you possibly can and make sure that you're commanding your pawns to attack, because that is when you will have the most opportunity to take the most amount of health off his health bar. And I have very much faith, I have a lot of faith that you guys will have no problem defeating this guy. It took me a couple of times, and then once I figured out the patterns, it was smooth sailing from there. But you guys will have to let me know how you like the boss fight in the comments section below. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on it. I very much enjoyed the fight. I actually enjoyed the story behind it too. It wasn't too complicated, but it was nice to see. I guess I won't spoil it. Well, I guess this does spoil it, so it was nice to see another Arisen in a different form, but I'll just leave it at that. I hope you're enjoying Dark Arisen. I know I am thoroughly enjoying it right now. Hopefully that remains the case over the next few days. I hope you're enjoying Dragon's Dogma, and as always, everybody, I hope you're enjoying life, and I'll be talking to you later for some more Dark Arisen gameplay videos.